Most people assume thinking just happens. They wake up, go through their day, react to situations, and believe that's all there is to it. But real thinking, the kind that leads to success, is a skill. And like any skill, it must be developed with practice. I remember a time when I thought I had all the answers. I worked hard, but I wasn't making progress. One day, Mr. Schoaf asked me, "How often do you sit down just to think? Not react, not worry, but actually think, deliberately, deeply." The truth? I wasn't. I was too busy running in circles, doing the same things, expecting different results. Great thinkers, successful people, set aside time to think. They ask better questions. How can I solve this problem? What's the next opportunity I'm missing? What can I do today that will improve my future? When you train your mind to think critically, creatively, and strategically, you start seeing solutions where others see obstacles. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Start by setting aside even 10 minutes a day. Write down your thoughts, challenge your assumptions, expand your perspective by reading and learning from others. Because the better you think, the better you live. And if you don't take control of your thinking, someone else will. Thinking is a skill, and like any skill, it takes practice to develop. Some people believe thinking just happens, that it's automatic. But that's not true. The quality of your life is shaped by the quality of your thoughts. If you think better, you live better. If you don't take control of your thinking, life will do it for you, and you may not like the results. I remember when I first started out, I wasn't much of a thinker. I just reacted to life. If something good happened, I was happy. If something bad happened, I was frustrated. I didn't take time to think about why things happened the way they did, and because I didn't think, I didn't grow. But then I met a man who told me something that changed my life. He said, "If you work on your job, you'll make a living. But if you work on yourself, you'll make a fortune." That struck me. I had never thought of personal growth as something you could work on, like a craft. So I started practicing. The first thing I learned was that thinking takes effort. Most people don't like to think too much. It's hard work. It's easier to stay busy, to distract yourself, to just go with the flow. But successful people think on purpose. They take time to reflect. They ask themselves questions like, what do I really want? What's stopping me? What do I need to change? And they don't just ask these questions once. They ask them again and again. One of the best ways to improve your thinking is to write things down. When I started writing in a journal, my thinking changed. Suddenly, my thoughts weren't just floating around in my head. They were right there on paper. And when you see your thoughts, you can improve them. You can sharpen them. You can get rid of the ones that don't serve you. Try it. Write down what's on your mind at the end of each day. Review it. Ask yourself, is this the kind of thinking that will take me where I want to go? Another powerful way to improve your thinking is to read. You don't have to invent all the answers yourself. You can learn from the greatest minds in history. I remember the first time I picked up a book on success. It was like sitting down with a wise mentor. It gave me new ideas, new perspectives, and little by little, my thinking improved. If you want to develop this skill, make reading a habit. Even if it's just 10 pages a day, over time, it will transform the way you think. And here's something important. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to think. If you spend time with people who never ask big questions, who never stretch their minds, guess what? You won't either. But if you spend time with people who talk about ideas, about goals, about how to grow, it will pull you up. Thinking is a skill, but only if you practice it. If you neglect it, life will push you around. But if you develop it, life will open doors for you that you never imagined. Most people spend their days thinking about themselves, what they want, what they need, what's in it for them. And that's natural. But if you want to live a truly successful life, you have to think bigger than just your own needs. That's where real growth happens. That's where real success begins. I learned this lesson early on. When I was just starting out, I was focused on my own struggles. Paying the bills, getting ahead, figuring out how to survive. I was trying to build a better life, but I was only thinking about my own situation. Then I met a man who gave me a new perspective. He said, if you want more, serve more. If you want to be wealthy, help others succeed. If you want respect, give respect. If you want respect, give respect. That was the shift. Instead of only thinking about what I could get, I started thinking about what I could give. You see, the people who achieve great things in life don't just focus on themselves. They think about how they can contribute. They think about their family, their community, their team. They think about how they can add value. And when you start thinking that way, opportunities start opening up. Take business, for example. If you want to succeed in business, you can't just think about what you want. You have to think about your customers. What do they need? What problems do they have? How can you make their lives better? The most successful businesses aren't built on selfish thinking. They're built on service. They find a way to help people, and in return, they prosper. Or think about leadership. A real leader doesn't just look out for himself. A real leader thinks about the people he leads. How can I help my team grow? How can I inspire them? How can I bring out their best? That's what makes a leader great. The ability to think beyond himself. I remember when I started teaching, I was nervous. I wondered, will people listen to me? Do I have anything valuable to say? But then I realized, this isn't about me. It's about them. It's about helping people get better, think bigger, do more. And the moment I shifted my focus, everything changed. I wasn't just speaking to be heard. I was speaking to help. And when you help, you grow. Thinking beyond yourself also applies to personal relationships. If you want strong friendships, if you want a great marriage, you can't just focus on what you're getting. You have to think about what you're giving. How can I support them? How can I encourage them? How can I be the kind of person others want to be around? The more you focus on lifting others, the stronger your relationships become. Thinking beyond yourself doesn't mean ignoring your own needs. It means expanding your perspective. It means seeing the bigger picture. Because the truth is, when you help others rise, you rise too. When you make a difference, success finds its way back to you. One of the biggest differences between those who succeed and those who struggle is how they think about time. Most people think short term. They think about what feels good right now, what's convenient, what's easy. But success doesn't work like that. If you want real success, lasting success, you have to think long term. You have to see beyond today and make decisions that will benefit you years down the road. I learned this lesson the hard way. When I was young, I spent money as fast as I made it. If I had a little extra, I found a way to spend it. New clothes, new gadgets, nights out. It felt good in the moment, but it left me with nothing to show for it. Then one day, a mentor of mine sat me down and said, if you keep spending like this, 10 years from now, you'll still be broke. But if you start saving, start investing, start thinking long term, 10 years from now, you could be wealthy. That was a wake-up call. So I changed my approach. I started thinking about where I wanted to be in 5 years, 10 years. I started saving a little, even when it was hard. I started making decisions that weren't just good for today, but good for my future. And that one shift, from thinking short-term to thinking long-term, changed everything. Look at the most successful people in any field, and you'll see they think long-term. The great investors don't chase quick profits. They build wealth over time. The best athletes don't just train when they feel like it. They commit to years of discipline. The strongest marriages don't happen overnight. They are built on years of trust and effort. Success isn't about what you do once. It's about what you do consistently over time. Think about your health. It's easy to eat junk food today, skip the workout today, stay up late today, but do that for years, and what happens? Poor health, low energy, regrets. On the other hand, if you start eating right, exercising, getting enough rest, not just once, but over time, you create a strong, healthy body. Or take finances. Many people want to get rich fast, but the truth is, real wealth is built over time. If you save a little each month, invest wisely, stay consistent, in 10 years, you'll be amazed at where you are. But if you only think about spending today, you'll always be starting over. Long-term thinking also applies to your personal growth. If you read a book today, you might not feel any different tomorrow. But if you keep reading, keep learning, keep improving over time, your knowledge compounds. In a few years, you'll be a completely different person, smarter, wiser, more capable. The key is patience. The key is discipline. The key is seeing beyond today and making choices that your future self will thank you for. Most people never do this. They let the present control them. But if you want to win in life, learn to think long term, because the future is coming whether you're ready or not. There are two kinds of people in life: those who solve problems and those who dwell on them. The problem solvers see obstacles as challenges to overcome. The problem dwellers see obstacles as excuses to stop. And let me tell you, if you want to succeed, you must train yourself to be a problem solver. I remember a time when I was struggling financially, bills piling up, opportunities slipping away, and I was stuck, feeling sorry for myself. I kept thinking, why is this happening to me? And you know what happens when you ask that kind of question? You get no answers. You just get more frustration. One day, a mentor of mine shook me up with a simple question. He said, "What are you going to do about it?" Not why did this happen, not who's to blame, just what are you going to do about it? That was a turning point for me. I realized that dwelling on my problems wasn't going to change anything. The only thing that would change my situation was action. So I got to work. I started learning new skills, reaching out to successful people, adjusting my habits. Little by little, I climbed out of that hole. And I learned something powerful. Every problem has a solution if you're willing to look for it. Now, contrast that with the problem dwellers. You've seen them. Maybe you've even been one at some point. These are the people who complain about the same issues year after year but never take action. They focus on what's wrong, who's to blame, and why life is unfair. They don't look for solutions. They don't take responsibility. And because of that, their problems stay the same. Think about it. If you have a financial problem, you can either complain about the economy, your job, or your luck, or you can look for ways to increase your income, manage your expenses, and invest wisely. If you have a health problem, you can either dwell on how unfair it is, or you can start eating better, exercising, and making better choices. If you have a relationship problem, you can either blame the other person, or you can work on improving yourself and communicating better. The truth is, life is full of problems. That will never change. What does change is how you handle them. The people who succeed are the ones who say, okay, this is the situation. Now what can I do about it? They focus on solutions. They take action. They keep moving forward. The good news is problem solving is a skill. And like any skill, you can get better at it. Train yourself to look for solutions instead of getting stuck in frustration. When a challenge shows up, don't ask, why me? Ask, what now? Don't wait for someone to save you, save yourself. Because the moment you decide to be a problem solver, your life will start to change. If you want to change your life, start by changing what goes into your mind. What you read, what you learn, the ideas you expose yourself to, that's what shapes your thinking. And the way you think determines the way you live. I remember when I was just getting started, struggling to figure things out. I was working hard, but I wasn't getting anywhere. Then someone gave me a book. At first, I didn't think much of it. I wasn't a big reader, but I decided to give it a shot. And that book opened my mind to ideas I had never considered before. It showed me that success wasn't about luck or talent. It was about developing the right habits, the right mindset, the right skills. That's when I realized something important. If I kept thinking the same way, I'd keep getting the same results. But if I wanted to change my results, I had to expand my thinking. And the fastest way to do that, learning, reading, absorbing new ideas. Because here's the truth. Someone out there has already figured out what you're trying to achieve. Someone has written down the lessons, the strategies, the wisdom. And all you have to do is learn from them. Yet so many people don't take advantage of that. They struggle for years trying to figure things out on their own when they could simply pick up a book and learn in days what took someone else a lifetime to discover. Imagine how much time that saves. Imagine how much progress you could make if you committed to learning something new every day. And it's not just about books. Learning comes in many forms. Listen to those who have walked the path before you. Find mentors. Study successful people. Pay attention to what works and what doesn't. If you're in business, learn from the best business minds. If you want to improve your health, study those who have mastered it. If you want to be financially free, learn how wealth is built. The knowledge is out there, waiting for you to absorb it. I once met a young man who told me he wanted to be successful, but he wasn't willing to read books or invest in learning. He said he didn't have time, but I noticed he had time for television, for social media, for entertainment. And I told him, your future will be a reflection of what you put into your mind. A few years later, he was still in the same place, struggling with the same problems. Because he never changed his thinking, he never changed his results. But I've also seen people who made learning a priority. They committed to reading just a little every day. They made it a habit to seek out new ideas. And within a few years, their entire lives transformed. Because when you expand your thinking, you expand your opportunities. When you fill your mind with powerful ideas, you make better decisions. And when you make better decisions, you create a better future. So make the choice today. Start learning, start reading, start exposing yourself to ideas that challenge and inspire you. Because the more you grow your mind, the more you grow your life. If you want to know where you're headed in life, take a good look at the people around you. Who do you spend the most time with? Who do you talk to? Who influences your thoughts, your decisions, your habits? Because whether you realize it or not, your associations shape your future. I learned this lesson early on. When I was just starting out, I spent time with people who didn't challenge me, who didn't push me to grow. They were good people, but they weren't going anywhere. And without even realizing it, I started thinking the way they thought, making the same excuses, settling for the same limitations. Then one day, I met someone who had built a successful life. And just by being around him, I started to see the difference. The way he talked, the way he thought, the way he approached problems. It was completely different from what I was used to. And I knew that if I wanted to change my life, I had to change who I spent my time with. It's a simple truth. If you surround yourself with people who complain all the time, before long, you'll be complaining too. If you spend your time with people who have no ambition, you'll start to lower your own expectations. But if you get around people who are driven, who are learning, who are making things happen, that mindset starts to rub off on you. There's an old saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Think about that for a moment. If the 5 people closest to you are broke, negative, or always blaming others, that thinking will shape you. But if they are successful, focused, and working towards something meaningful, they'll challenge you to rise to a higher level. I remember meeting a young man who wanted to improve his financial situation. He had the skills, he had the work ethic, but he was surrounded by people who made poor financial decisions. Every time he tried to save or invest, they mocked him. Every time he talked about his goals, they told him he was wasting his time. And after a while, he started to believe them. Until one day, he made a decision. He changed his environment. He found new mentors, joined a community of people who were focused on success, and within a few years, his entire financial situation turned around. This is the power of association. The people you spend time with will either lift you up or pull you down. They will either inspire you to grow or keep you stuck where you are. And the choice is yours. You don't have to cut people out of your life completely, but you do have to be intentional about who has the most influence over you. Find people who encourage you, who challenge you, who hold you accountable. Get around those who make you think bigger, dream bigger, and take bigger actions. Because when you think with the right people, you start making the right moves. And when you make the right moves, you build the life you truly want. Be careful how you talk to yourself, because your mind is always listening. The words you say, even in silence, shape your beliefs, your confidence, and ultimately your future. The problem is too many people let negative self-talk run their lives. They tell themselves they're not good enough, not smart enough, not lucky enough. And before long, those words become their reality. I've met people who had every opportunity in front of them but never took action because in their minds they had already failed. Not because they lacked the ability, but because they kept telling themselves, I could never do that, or that's just not for people like me. They planted doubt in their own minds, and that doubt stopped them before they even got started. I remember a young man who came up to me after a seminar and said, I want to succeed, but I don't think I'm cut out for it. I asked him why, and he told me, I've never been good at anything. I always mess things up. I looked at him and said, who told you that? He hesitated, then said, well, I guess I did. And that was the problem. No one else had to hold him back. He was doing it himself. The mind is powerful, but it will believe whatever you feed it. If you tell yourself you're not capable, your mind will find ways to prove you right. If you tell yourself you're not worthy, you'll start making choices that reinforce that belief. But here's the good news. You can change the conversation. You can start speaking to yourself in a way that builds you up instead of tearing you down. I had to learn this myself. When I was young, I had moments of doubt. I'd think, what if I fail? What if I don't have what it takes? But then I realized something. Those thoughts weren't helping me. So I made a decision. I replaced those doubts with better words. Instead of what if I fail, I started asking, what if I succeed? Instead of I don't know if I can, I started saying, I'll find a way. And that shift made all the difference. I once met a woman who had spent years believing she wasn't smart enough to build a better life, but one day she decided to change her thinking. Every morning she told herself, I am capable, I am learning, I will figure this out. And over time, her confidence grew. She started taking action, trying new things, and soon she was running a successful business. Not because she suddenly became smarter, but because she stopped telling herself she couldn't do it. If you want to change your life, start by changing your words. Pay attention to how you talk to yourself. When doubt creeps in, challenge it. When fear tries to take over, remind yourself of your strengths. You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to believe that you're capable. Because once you do, you'll start seeing opportunities instead of obstacles. You'll start taking action instead of hesitating. And before long, you'll realize that the only thing that was ever holding you back was the story you were telling yourself. Most people react to life as it comes, making decisions based on what feels good in the moment. But if you want to build a future that's truly yours, you can't just live day by day. You need to think strategically. Strategic thinking means looking beyond the present moment and making choices that align with where you want to go. It's about asking the right questions, weighing your options, and making decisions that move you forward instead of keeping you stuck. I remember when I was first starting out in business, I was eager, full of ambition, but I lacked direction. I took every opportunity that came my way without stopping to ask, is this leading me where I want to go? And guess what? I wasted a lot of time. I finally learned that success isn't about doing everything. It's about doing the right things. That's when I started asking better questions. Instead of saying, what's the easiest path? I asked, what's the best long-term move? Instead of saying, what can I do right now? I asked, what's going to matter 5 years from now? And that shift made all the difference. I once met a man who was struggling financially. He told me he wanted to change his life, but every time he made extra money, he spent it on things that gave him instant gratification. Nicer clothes, expensive nights out, a better car. I asked him, have you thought about where this money could take you in 5 years? He hadn't. He was thinking short term, not strategically. So I told him, if you keep spending like this, your future will look exactly like your present. He decided to change. He started saving, investing, and making decisions with his future in mind. A few years later, his life looked completely different, not because he made more money, but because he used strategic thinking to make better choices. Strategic thinking applies to every area of life. If you want a better career, don't just look at what pays more today. Look at what will open doors tomorrow. If you want to improve your health, don't just think about what's convenient now. Think about what will keep you strong years from now. The key is to stop making decisions based on how you feel in the moment and start making them based on where you want to be. I once worked with a man who was in a tough situation. He had a job that paid well but had no future. He knew he needed to make a change, but he was afraid to take a step back. I asked him, would you rather struggle for a few years to build a future you're proud of, or stay comfortable and be in the same place 10 years from now? He thought about it, and soon after, he started learning new skills and working towards something better. It wasn't easy, but because he thought strategically, he was able to build a career that gave him real freedom. If you want a better future, you need to think beyond today. Stop making decisions based on comfort and start making them based on progress. Look ahead, plan wisely, and make choices that serve your long-term goals. Because if you don't think strategically about your future, no one else will. You've heard it all today. The power of thinking, the importance of who you surround yourself with, the discipline to plan long-term, and the mindset to overcome negativity. But none of it matters if you don't take action. Knowledge alone won't change your life. It's what you do with it that counts. Starting today, challenge yourself to think differently. When faced with a decision, don't just react. Pause and ask yourself, is this leading me toward the life I want? Train your mind to think beyond the moment. Start reading, learning, and surrounding yourself with people who challenge you to be better. Guard your thoughts, because what you allow in will shape what comes out. If you're stuck, remember this. Your past doesn't determine your future, but your present decisions do. You have the power to change your direction at any moment. Don't settle for an average life when a great one is within your reach. It all starts with how you think. So go out there, take charge of your mind, and take charge of your life. Because when you master your thinking, you master your future. And that, my friends, is the key to real success.